Thanks for coming to the King Ugly Crew today, guys. I think we're talking about, what was it, road trips?
Yeah, I think we're going to do some road trips today.
Well, I think we're going to have to do a road trip too, because I was going to get Sergey involved in this one.
Okay, I talked to her. She's just not able to get on tonight. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we can do that another time. I've been on plenty of road trips.
Oh, yeah. I think we've all been on plenty of road trips. Do we want to touch base on...
What? Son's going to road trip?
I know, right? But I was thinking, do you guys want to do road trips with Dad in particular tonight?
I've never done a road trip.
Haha, funny, Griffey. Really funny. But yeah, I was thinking we'll talk about the road trips we did with King Ugly tonight.
Yeah, I'm good with whatever. I mean, that's fine with me.
Sweet. I just remember the one when we were going to Skyla's wedding up in New York. I think we were all involved in this one, or all the younger kids were.
The younger kids were.
It was the younger kids.
Yeah,
it was the year after Griff and I went to New York. Was it the year after? Yeah, a year after Griff and I and Dad and Lonnon and Shane all went out back east, and I drove the golf cart into a lake.
Yep.
Drove a golf cart into the lake, Baron.
Yep. So
right into it.
Yep. I was on, I don't remember the golf course. Let Griff go.
The superintendent golf cart, and Dad explicitly said, "Do not drive this."
Yep.
So we drove it.
I listened so well.
And I drove it too, and I was like, okay, I'm just kind of bored. When I walked inside to see Baron, I walked inside of the pump house where the superintendent was, and Dad and Lonnon, and I watched as Baron jumps out of the golf cart because he's headed towards the lake and tries pushing on the golf cart to make sure it wouldn't go in the lake.
I'm 12 years old, and clearly my thought process of pushing the brake pedal was just beyond me.
just one of those comprehensive things that just didn't click in your brain at that moment.
Yeah. So at that point, the golf cart is going down these rocks into the lake as I am like yelling at everybody, like the golf cart's going into the lake, and everybody comes out of the pump house, and then I like go over to one of the work trucks and like hide and like feeling like a 12-year-old idiot. Because Dad told me, do not drive the golf cart. And of course, I totally ignored that and drove the golf cart. And then, because I was just driving around circles, and then I don't remember what happened. I just somehow headed straight into the lake.
And then Baron went for a swim. Well, no.
No, you went for a swim.
And then, so the superintendent had to go get a backhoe, and I had to go swim and find this freaking golf cart that was in the lake.
So, what was your punishment?
I continued installing.
Yes.
How'd you get punished then? Because there's no way you got away with this unscathed.
I don't think
he got in trouble at all.
Nope.
I don't think at all.
He did. He wasn't allowed to go. He basically had to stay at the hotels the whole time, and I think that might have been more of an excuse for Dad to stay at the hotels. But that was what his punishment was. And then I got punished because at that time that golf course had pretty much given me free reign of whatever I wanted to take around, and I
lost you, Griffey.
I said, and I wasn't allowed to take anything anymore.
Oh, so you got punished more than he did.
Yep, he totally did.
Yep. Sorry, Griffey, I scared you.
I was able to drive around a Toro with a 5-speed.
Oh, that's cool. So what road trip was that? It was just one you guys took for business?
Yeah, that was a business trip. It started, we went to Colorado first and installed the machine there.
No, it was Houston. We went to Texas first, went to Colorado on the way back.
No, we went to Colorado first and then down to Austin and then out to Kiowa Island and then up to New Jersey and then up and saw Skyline Mike in New York, and we went to New York City as well. Then we went back to the one in New Jersey, back to Kiowa Island, and then back across the states.
I remember we went to Waterworld on our way back, not on the way there.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
I'm pretty confident of that. I remember the last place we went, we went to Waterworld. Yeah, Aaron's right.
Well, we didn't install there, so.
No, it was, we had to go do something. There was something wrong with the machine, or Dennis, if I remember right,
Dennis Brown.
Yeah, was wanting us to come do something. I don't remember exactly.
Geez, how long was this road trip then?
We were gone 6 weeks.
So it was 2 weeks after Braylon was born. I left and I was gone for 6 weeks.
Dang.
Awesome. So Griff and I saw the Twin Towers before they came down, like 2 months before they came down. I remember having to pee really bad in Manhattan, so we actually ended up stopping off, and I peed in the Twin Towers.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And then a month later, they came down.
Yep, I flew in the night before, and that was the golf course I went to, the one where Baron put the golf cart into the lake. That's where I was heading to. Is Cherry Hill, New Jersey, an absolutely full-on Jewish town.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Jewish courts as well. I mean, like you walked into the building, and on right as you walked in, like they usually have slogans. This slogan was Jesus. Who was he anyway?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the superintendent was not a Jew, so he was a little offended by it as well. But he worked there, so it was his job.
It is what it is at that point.
So let's just record as saying none of us are anti-Semitic.
Yes, we all.
Oh,
we
absolutely
love,
not. I absolutely love Jews. Almost everyone I've ever met, I love them. Like I worked with one at Waterworld in Colorado. Gosh, that guy was, well, I've worked with quite a few, and I have nothing bad to say about anyone that I've ever met. Like one of the trips that I truthfully would love to go on is I really want to visit Israel.
Yep.
That'd be a lot of very interesting sights to see. I mean, obviously that's where Christ walked, and just all the things he did there would be incredible.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. But I really also would love to see the fact that I mean, like, I would love to get to know their religion, just to get to know the religion and how they are. The other thing that's really cool is Israeli food now. They kind of have their own food, if you will, but it's very Middle Eastern, but it's their own. They've kind of taken it from everybody, and I've seen a lot of good reviews on it. Really, obviously we've talked about how we're foodies, and I would really like to try some. I've watched a couple cooking shows with it, and it would be interesting.
That's awesome. So, Dane, do you what road trip do you remember with Dad? Like, which one sticks out in your brain?
Probably the biggest one with Dad is when me, Lonnon, Power, and Dad, we were living in Idaho at the time. I think I was in 8th or 9th grade.
I was in
and
8th.
You were in 8th, so I was in 9th. And we went to Houston and then over to Florida, to the Keys. We went surfing the day Case drowned.
Daytona Beach.
Yep. That's probably the biggest one. And we were gone for a month.
It was 3 weeks. I think we were supposed to be gone a month, and it ended up being 3 weeks. All of Case's fault.
All my fault. I decided to crawl into a bucket and die. Whatever.
But
Crawl into a bucket and die.
We were in Houston for a solid week and a half, maybe 2.
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks because I remember driving. We remember going down Alligator Alley and seeing all the alligators on the side of the road. And,
Yep.
We stopped at that alligator farm and we ate alligator. Do you remember that?
Yep, absolutely.
Tastes like chicken.
Does.
No, it's bitter. It's bitter.
It depends on how it's cooked. Like,
Yeah.
I've had it since. But yes, the stuff we had, I just don't think they prepared it very well.
No, I've had it
I'm with
fried
you. Well,
alligator. And
I think to be honest with
Yeah.
you, I think it was probably the oil they cooked it in. It was probably going bad. Now thinking back on it.
Maybe. Yep. Oh, you know what? That's probably what it was. Well, that's like when we went to Wall Drug and got buffalo burgers, and they were so disgusting.
Nope, that's a completely different trip.
I know, that was a totally different trip. I said it's like when.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's
it
when
was
we
like
were coming home from Minnesota with Power.
that. Yeah, when we moved
took
power out to Minnesota.
Is that one really big like area in the middle of nowhere?
You
South
think it's really
Dakota.
big. You think it's really big, and literally for hundreds of miles there's signs. Stop at Wall Drug. Stop at Wall Drug. And you get there, and it's not as impressive as you would expect it to be.
Keep in mind, we were there in the off season.
Right, absolutely. But I mean, like with what they were giving off, I personally thought it was going to be a bigger deal, like more, like huge, like I don't even think it was as big as some of the outlet malls in Vegas.
Here's what it reminded me of. It started out as one building, then somebody built onto that, then somebody built onto that, and then 5,000 people built onto that.
Right.
And it's basically like walking through a big swap meet. I mean,
It
with
is.
like plywood walls, and it was like super unimpressive.
That's so awesome.
Super unimpressive. And like we ordered buffalo burgers and we got them and we all took
They were
2 or
freezer
3
burnt.
bites out of them and they were freezer burnt. And Dad walked back
And
up
it was
there.
like
It's like, do you have any?
$15.
Yeah. Do you have any fresh burgers? And they're like, no, this is what we got. It's like, well, I want my money back. I want a refund. And then I don't like Subway, but we went to Subway and it was 1,000 times better.
Wow.
Yes.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it was bad.
It
really
was
bad.
disgusting. What was cool on that road trip,
Is that when you
moving
moved
power out to Minnesota? Yeah. What was cool on that road trip was, oh my gosh, Lonnon, the biker town.
Oh, yes.
Sturgis?
No, you're thinking of Deadwood.
Sturgis.
You're thinking
No,
of Deadwood.
Sturgis was cool. Going through Sturgis was cool, and then the Black Hills were totally cool, and then Deadwood's where we spent the night, and Deadwood was really cool.
Deadwood was really cool. Sturgis was just okay because there was nothing going on there. I mean,
Yeah, but we drove around through the town and stuff, and
we got to
you
see
could
some
see all
of
the places where
right.
there was a bunch of stuff.
See,
So
that's
that
what
was really cool.
I loved about Dad. He would always make time to stop at the little places. And me and Dane, I know we talked about this in the past and how most of the time we want to just, when we are set for a
Oh, I'm
destination,
A to B.
A to B, that's all we got to do. I've actually gotten into the mindset lately on my last road trip with my family. I stopped multiple different places just to see what it was, to make memories with my boys and with my wife. It was, and that's what I loved about traveling with Dad, Mr. King
Yep.
Ugly. He just, he'd stop at these really odd, off the wall places, but it's memories. Like those are things I remember with Dad.
It all depends on
That's
if
the
you have
only
the
one-
time. That's really what it comes
That's
down
the only
to.
one that I knew that could go from Twin Falls to Salt Lake on non-main roads. And the general person, it takes him 3 hours to Falls to Salt Lake. No, Dad, it would take like 7 hours because he'd go on all these back roads through all these towns.
Well, that's because he'd done it so many times on, I-15 and I-84 that it just got monotonous.
Oh, it does get monotonous. Like
I'm not gonna lie, I feel the same way. Sorry, Case, not to cut you off.
no, Baron, me and you travel the same road a lot. That I-15 from Cedar City to anywhere outside of Scipio, man, it's just
Probably the most
monotonous.
boring stretch of road that I've driven on. I mean, to be honest with you, the 93 is still more interesting than that
Okay,
stretch
there
of road.
we go. No.
Oh, yes.
No way.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I was going to say. There's no way it's worse than the 93.
Nope.
I think the
I'd much
loneliest
rather
highway
drive the
is
93.
boringer.
So
Oh,
Case
I would
and
give you
I
that,
taking the
Griffith.
15 all the time. I mean, one time I remember being working for Kimball, being at a job site in Milford, and been all like, screw the 15. I have to go all the way up to like Moroni, which is just past Nephi behind the mountains.
Did you go
And-
through Delta?
I went through Delta.
Oh, yes.
So I went up through Delta, and come to find out, it added like Google said it would only add like 10 minutes or half an hour to the drive. Come to find out, it added 2 hours to the drive, and the machine was sitting there waiting for me. I felt pretty guilty, but I was so sick of the 15 at
blame
that
you.
point.
I don't blame you. It's at a certain point you're just done seeing the same thing over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you finally just get to the point where you turn into a road zombie, and the fact that I drove for Barney for 3 months. I mean, I know the section of 15 from the Highway 20, which is Panguitch exit, all the way to Holden, which is the Delta exit. Like, because I did it every day for 3 months, and that was just, oh my gosh, boring.
Yeah, so like Griffith is correct. The loneliest highway in the world is the boringest stretch. And what's crazy about that one is, as Baron was with us, it was me, Baron, and Griff, and we were coming back with Griffith's his building that we put up.
My shop.
Were we on the 50?
Yeah. The world's loneliest highway. And I don't remember if you remember, Baron, but like literally we were driving for probably 8 hours, and you get over a rise and you'd be like, there's gotta be something over that rise. Nope, just more road. Okay, there's got to be something over this ride. And the rises are probably 50 miles off from each other every time, right? Maybe I'm embellishing a little bit.
Yeah, that's all right.
And it was just nothing. At least there's something off the side of the road, off of the I-15.
Isn't that the same road we used to take to Eureka?
No, different road.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
This highway is literally called the loneliest highway.
It
See,
used
I
to
thought-
not have a speed limit, and then they decided it needed a speed limit.
We would take part
Where
of
is it
that
going
road.
through Nevada?
Yeah, center of Nevada.
It's going east to west, not north south. And so you come out of. So what we did is we went through Yosemite, and you come out in Bishop, California, and then basically from Bishop, California, you can drive straight across to Cedar City. Pretty much. I mean, like it's a little bit ups and downs, but for the most part, it's straight across. And until you get to Tonopah, I believe, there's literally nothing at all. It's just rises up and down and up, and it's just desert for as far as the eye can see. It is definitely the most boring one that I've definitely ever done.
Well, and the worst part is my AC was starting to crap out at that point too, so I was getting really, really hot.
Yeah.
Was this in the summer?
Yep.
Yeah, but you're in a pretty high elevation,
Not at
going
that
through
point.
there, aren't you?
Not in the middle of Nevada.
Yeah, not in the middle of Nevada. Coming through Yosemite, yes, but not through Nevada.
Yosemite, huh?
So you don't go. Where are you? Are you south of Ely?
Yeah. You're probably a solid 200 miles. No, you're about the half the distance between Vegas and Ely. like right down the center.
Okay. Yep. Gotcha.
So the one I remember most, unless somebody else wants to go first, but
I'll hit it.
Baron, Griffith, and Case probably won't even remember this one. I don't remember who was born at this point, to be honest with you. But I remember Dad coming home and he's telling us all.
Yosemite or Jellystone.
No, it wasn't. It was Craters of the Moon.
Oh, yeah, but didn't we go to Yellowstone?
No,
we were
not
going to
on
go
that
to the
one.
Craters of the Moon, and
We
then
were
we
gonna
went
go-
to Yellowstone too.
No, we weren't. We were going to go to Yellowstone, and we didn't. We just did Craters of the Moon, if I remember correctly. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't.
Is this the one where all of us got in the back of Death's truck?
Yeah. So did we do Yellowstone on that one too?
Yeah, we went to Yellowstone.
But
We were only going to do
remember
Craters
this.
of the Moon,
I
and then we went
remember.
to Yellowstone. Griffith
it
it's
Griff-
right after we moved to Twin.
No, because it was after Dad got the Chevy pickup, and that was at the house off of Vicky Lane.
No.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
It was the first. It wasn't his. It was the business's truck. It was the long bed white one.
Are
the
you sure?
89.
I swear it was right after he got his blue one, and we went out in it. I'm pretty sure, but again, I could be wrong. But either
Yeah,
way,
truck too.
I remember, he's just coming home, saying, "Everybody get ready, just pack a quick bag of clothes, like a change of clothes, and get in the truck and let's go." So everybody gets in the truck. We pile in. There's probably 6 of us in the back seat,
Yeah.
and a baby. So it's probably either way. It was probably Baron as well.
Baron was
I have
just
no
born,
idea.
I believe.
Yeah, I think it was Baron that was just
Baron
born.
was born
Griffith was
in College Drive, on College Drive.
Right. But I swear it was Vicky Lane. Either way, and either way you look at it, I remember Dad coming and it was like it was pretty crazy just because he was just like, "Okay, let's go," and we left and we were gone for 2 or 3 days, or was it just 2?
I don't remember.
But it was just one of those cool ones, and it's funny because actually when I went to go get my Jeep with my wife, and so Isaacs was there, and I think Roya was with us. We went up to Idaho Falls to look at this one, and I wasn't willing to pay him because of the mileage and a couple other things, and I tried haggling him down a little bit, and he wouldn't budge. And so I was like, well, then I'm going to go check out this one in Boise. And going across, we were going straight across right through Craters of the Moon. And my wife had never seen it. Most of it was covered in snow, but you could see parts of it that made it look. It was still cool looking. And then the other cool thing, I've never seen this, Dane. So the Treasure Valley that's just north of Shoshone, but south of not Treasure Valley. I'm sorry.
I say Treasure Valley is
Yeah, that's Boise area.
in Boise.
Yeah, no, the Sun Valley area. So just south of Sun Valley, just north of Shoshone, you had like that road that was going east-west. I can't think what it is.
Yep.
It was spring-ish, and I'm not kidding you. Some of these fields out there had 6 feet of snow on them still.
Wow.
I've never seen this much snow in that area in my whole life. Like we were driving through and I was like, I've never seen this much snow. And Nick
Well,
was
it's because
telling
they
me,
have the mountains right there that stop it.
right.
Stop all the weather.
But no. Like it was a mass year. Like they'd never received that much snow in that amount of time. Like from February to April when we got my Jeep, they'd received something like I think it was like 18 feet of snow.
Jeez.
And it was a record. And I was talking to Nick about it, and he's like, "Yeah, they had to divert flights down to Twin pretty much every day of February and half of March."
Jeez.
Wow.
Lonnon, was that road through Fairfield then?
Let me look real quick.
No, I
Probably,
just looked
that
it
sounds
up.
about
It's
right.
the 20. It looks like.
Yeah, and it's got Arco on it. Is Arco on that one as well?
I don't see it. I see Blaine and Coral, but yeah, that's a pretty crazy road right there. I mean, it just cuts straight across there.
It's not a very fun road. It's like, what was it, 5 hours from Boise to Idaho Falls?
Yeah, just about.
Well, while I'm looking that up, I guess I can finish my story I started at the beginning of this thing.
Sorry.
Sorry for cutting you off, guys.
It's all good. Well, I know how it is. We all we're all ADD, so we just pick one tangent and run on it. Squirrel. And so we were all traveling for Skyla's wedding up. We all lived in, was it Idaho or Vegas at that time?
Sealing. We lived in Vegas.
Okay. And she lived in upstate New York, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And so we all decided to just pile into one of the F-350s. Well, to entertain all the kids, Dad had this awesome idea that he had a camper shell on his truck That's the little shell on the back of their pickups. Kind of makes it look like an excursion. But basically, you had a sliding glass window that connected the camper shell. We put in a TV, not a flat screen TV because they weren't around at that point, but like a big behemoth of a TV hooked up to the power inverter and powering our N64. And so we literally we had a air mattress in the back, blankets galore. I mean, there was 4 or 5 of us in the back of that truck at all points. No seatbelts, no nothing.
At least it was a long bed.
Yeah, I mean, we had plenty of room, but man, I could imagine. So we got pulled over then. I don't know what kind. I don't know if there was seatbelt laws then, but man, it was.
Dude, that was like 2000.
It was
Definitely seatbelt
2003.
Yeah, I loved that. Was like the greatest way to travel. I mean, we just sat back there playing GoldenEye and
King Kong. No. What was it? Donkey Kong. We played Donkey Kong the whole time.
Heck yeah! And then
that was
Donkey
great.
Kong Country.
Yes. Yep. It was so much fun, and man, it was just great.
I just remember the AC and the generator that Dad put on there.
In the back, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Dad bought a AC because it was starting to get hot when we were traveling.
Oh, I remember we made like this little patch panel, and we put the tailgate down, and the AC was sitting on the tailgate, and we like put in this piece of cardboard, and we ran the inverter off of. No, we couldn't run it off the power supply, so it was a generator, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was an awesome trip because we got to go see Nauvoo and the Nauvoo Temple, and we got to go see all the pageants in Nauvoo. It was actually a really cool trip.
It was awesome. I mean, but getting there, we did it in what, 2.5 days, 3 days?
Yeah, I think Dad drove straight. We didn't stay in a hotel or anything.
It was just
Lonnon,
go.
That reminds me.
Yep, that's the same thing.
Vegas to Minneapolis in a day. Like we drove straight through.
Straight there. Yeah, me and Dane just switched off, and basically what it came down to. Well, Dane, but you can tell the story.
So same thing. We were in green F350 Power Stroke diesel. We had a machine in the back of the truck because we were going up to what was it, Lonnon? A trade show?
Yep, trade show.
So it was a trade show of Minneapolis, and Dad doesn't tell us till, like 2 days before we're supposed to be there.
What? No.
Dad does things last minute? What?
Yeah, I know. But so we had the PlayStation, and so while Lonnon drove, I slept or played PlayStation. While I drove, Lonnon slept or played PlayStation. But that's the first time I played Metal Gear Solid, and I remember having to take the controller out.
Slept.
Probably, but I remember. You guys remember Psycho Mantis? You probably don't. But Psycho Mantis can read your mind. So if you have your controller plugged into the first-person controller, everything you do, it'll block. So you had to unplug it and put it in the second-person controller slot, and then you could beat him. But
wow,
I remember being in there trying to figure out that stinking boss.
Yeah, that was before, the internets where you could just look that kind of crap up.
That's awesome. Like the fact that you figured that out by yourself. Like, hey, oh wait, he can see what I'm doing. I'll just plug it into player 2, and then he can't see what I'm doing.
Well, they give you little hints and stuff. They never come right out and say it, but they gave you like hints and stuff like that. But it was that was a fun trip though, Lonnon, and that was in the middle of February. I remember walking through downtown, and all of downtown Minneapolis is connected. Because it was like negative 30 degrees.
You can do it all on skywalks.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yep. So.
Yeah, it was a fun drive, and then we went all the way there on the 70, but then we had to come back on the 80. Do you remember that, Dane? Because of the snow going through Denver. So Dad's like, no, don't go through the 70 again.
Yep.
Come back the 80. So we had to come back and up through Wyoming and then back down.
And if I remember correctly, we barely missed a big blizzard in Wyoming.
Yep.
Like I think they had just opened the freeway again.
Yeah. In case you were wondering if that was the 20, that was the 20 through Butte City, Arco, Cary. That's the road. That's the place I was thinking of, Dane, is Cary. And then that road, the 20, connects with the 75 that goes right up to Shoshone and then up to Bellevue and Haley. So, that one was a fun one. It was a quick drive there. We didn't just have a machine, you remember? We had all of the display as well. So, like, the back of the truck was completely full.
Oh,
that's awesome. I mean, that's just one of those, all right, guys, let's go, and just jump in and roll out. I mean, I love that we can just jump in and do that.
Well, and then we had to run the trade show. So, like, we were basically salesmen pitching the ozone generators and stuff.
With Ron. Ron was there, but, that was about it. So I don't remember which one it was. There was another one where I was out on the East Coast, And maybe you guys came back a different way, Baron, than me. I don't remember.
So Griff and I rode back with Dad in the black truck, and then Shane and you, and we swapped off between the utility bed and back. So you and Shane may have gone off to go do another job or something.
Well, no, I know that from Kansas City, we left Kansas City, and I made it from Kansas City to Las Vegas in one day. I finished, so we left at like 6 a.m., and I got to Las Vegas, and I was the only one in the truck. I got to Las Vegas. It was like 3 a.m. So like with the time change and everything, so I figured it out. I don't remember when it was now, but I'd figured it out at that point that I drove a full straight 24 hours straight to Vegas from Kansas City or St. Louis. It was one of the two cities. And
Was there a reason for that?
just to get back because we were always in a rush for everything.
Wanted to get home.
And,
I get it.
But I do remember that the reason I know it was 24 hours is because I started Hannibal, the book, in wherever I left from. It was St. Louis or Kansas City, and I finished it as I was pulling into Vegas. And it's a 24-hour book.
Dang.
Wow.
There's a reason there's time restrictions on truck drivers. Thanks, Lonnon.
Yeah.
Why?
Dang.
I didn't
Lonnon.
get tired.
Well, I know. I guess if you do that day in, day out, obviously, then obviously you wouldn't be able to do that.
I did
Well,
that
yeah, but-
for quite a while.
Anybody who thinks the government can make a better decision than a person is stupid.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, like,
yes.
don't get me wrong. There are people that are dumb and they're not going to pull over. If I got tired enough, I would pull over. But usually, if I
Yep.
had something to eat and something to listen to that would keep my mind going, I didn't have a problem. It was just keep on trucking.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I'm the same way when I'm traveling. As long as I got like something to snack on, I can stay awake for hours. But the same time is that if I know I'm not going to make it home, I'll just like pick one of the most dead stops on the way home and just crash for an hour or so. Yeah, I mean, not crash, but sleep for about an hour or so. Just because it's not worth my life or anyone else's.
Have you
Right.
guys ever had one time where you're like, you just had full intentions of only pulling over for like 2 hours, and then you would pull over for like 8? Like, no idea.
Nope.
No,
Oh,
I
yeah,
haven't had that issue.
So I was driving back up to Northern California after my mission. This is after I came down for Case's wedding and then was driving back up in Griffith 350. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I don't remember why I was so tired, but I pulled off in the middle of California somewhere. And the next thing I know is I woke up at like 10 o'clock in the morning. Like the sun's up, the birds are chirping. I'm like, dang, I was
Wow.
tired.
The one that I do remember the most on something like that is I had to go from Vegas to Phoenix to pick up some Transformers at Phoenix Transformer, and then I had to go to the Los Angeles Country Club. And so I left Vegas at like 8 o'clock at night. No, I left Vegas whenever. So like I got into Phoenix at like 10 o'clock at night. So I must have left Vegas. So it's like 6.5 hours, right, Dane? If I remember correctly. So I
Five.
probably left
5 hours.
5 hours. So I probably left Vegas sometime around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And then from Phoenix back over to LA, and I stopped to sleep around the Riverside area. That's funny because I actually picked up the one and only hitchhiker I've ever picked up before.
Temecula.
No, actually, it might not have even been that. But
That's how Lonnon said Temecula.
no, that's how Griffith said Temecula.
Oh, that was Fuff.
Yeah, that's where we went to go.
Temecula.
That's when we went to go get the bottling stuff from for Eco Energizer. That was that time.
Dude, tell me about the
Hitchhiker.
hitchhiker.
I'm
I didn't know
curious,
you
too.
ever picked one up.
So he was at this rest stop that I had stopped at, and he had traveled all over the country. And after talking to him for a while, I kind of got out of him that he was the prodigal son or whatever it is. Basically, he left and didn't want anything to do with it. And I dropped him off, downtown Hollywood because his family lived somewhere around there. So he was just like, I'd woke up and went to go pee, and he's like, dude, are you heading toward, LA area or something? And I was like, yeah. I mean, like, you can kind of tell, obviously not always, but, you kind of get a feeling if somebody's not a good person.
Right.
We're Jensen's. We're all natural salespeople, and you get a feel for people.
Right.
Yes.
So I got a feel for this guy that, he really just wanted a ride, and that's all it was. So I gave him a ride all the way into Hollywood. And
Was he a talker? I'm curious. Like, did he want to talk the entire time, or?
Oh yeah, we talked the whole way.
Awesome. That's pretty cool.
And it was just interesting. I think we even got breakfast before I left him. And then I had to go. These transformers that I had to take were a buck booster transformer, because LA Country Club was 575 volts, and all of our machines are 480 volt, and so we had to we took a buck booster but dropped it the other way around. Put the 575 into it. They gave us 480 out, and then ran the machine off of it. But this was a huge machine. This is one that had 500 electrodes in it. So these transformers, actually Griff has one in his backyard still. It weighs close to 300 pounds, and I had to load that sucker up onto that machine by myself.
Yeah, back when we were
Dang.
all strong.
Yeah, back when I could have done it. Exactly.
Yeah, not anymore. Is that the black one at Griffey's house?
Yeah, the one that's it stands about
Massive.
what, 2 feet tall, and it's just, I mean, it's bad now. You couldn't do anything with it anyway.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's-
I picked up a
Oh,
hijacker.
do you remember the
I
smell
sorry,
those things
not a
put off?
hijacker once, but
a hijacker, Baron?
I picked up a. Oh, I forgot their name. Oh
He
my god!
hijacked you?
No, he didn't hijack me. The
A hitchhiker.
hitchhiker. Wow, I'm brain farting bad. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I picked up. Yeah, one time. But like mine, it wasn't like I'd gotten off. Their car had broken down on the side of the road, and I actually had the car dolly with me at the time. And I was heading back from northern Utah for whatever reason. And yeah, picked up these two guys because I was just going to put their car on the tow dolly and then bring it back to Cedar because they were heading to Cedar anyway. But it wasn't like, I remember cresting the hill and seeing them, and it was just like this feeling you need to go pick them up. Like, I was like, and it was like very like, you need to do this. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to fight with that spirit. So went and did it. But mine was very uneventful.
That's a cool story.
They were Mexican, so they hardly spoke any English. But yeah, hopefully I made their day.
Well, you made somebody's
Sure
day.
you did.
Kept him from getting deported.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Oh
Well,
gosh.
Yeah, well, terrible. But the worst part is trying to load up their car. I broke the car dolly, so I couldn't bring their car back.
Really?
Yeah.
How did
Wow.
you break it?
The main bolt had broken out. I guess the trailer was a little rustier than I had thought, and the main bolt that holds the platform in place had broken, and so it wouldn't hold itself in place.
Wow.
Yep.
That stinks. Like
Yep.
you had the equipment to do it, but I mean, obviously for some reason God didn't want you to take their car back.
Yeah. So I brought them to a U-Haul, and they went and picked it up themselves. But yep.
Griff, did you get to go on any of those trips with me and Dad when we were going around buying all the stuff during the Eco Energizer time?
Nope.
That
Griffey
was
working.
mostly me.
I was the one that had to stay back at Eco. Like
Yeah.
all of the stuff, all of the trips that happened during Eco, I never went on any of them.
Like, except for when we went down and picked up the stuff, the bottling stuff. You were with us then.
Temecula.
Yeah, and well, that wasn't in
That's the
Temecula,
only time.
but yeah. Well, the reason I asked is because the one time that me and Dad, I think we went down to Yuma to pick up a 4-wheeler, and it was right after we'd bought that white truck that I had, the Baron Robe, that it lost a post.
Is that when Dad
lost
got
a
his
hose
700?
clamp. No. So he got his 700 out of LA. No, well, LA greater area, but no.
Birds.
Well, I think that's when we picked up one of the 660s at that point. It was down in Yuma. And it was, that was an eventful night because that one, like, we used all the water we had in the truck because we had some bottled water because we either lost, I can't remember if it must not have been a hose, it must have been just a hose clamp that went, came off and came disconnected. And we were able to connect it back up, but we lost all the water. So we'd fill it all complete with water. That wasn't full enough. Then we filled it up with Dr. Pepper, and then we filled it up with whatever we had, and made it to the next town. I don't remember what town it was, but we got there. But it was start it, get it up to speed, up to like 100 miles an hour, shut the truck off, and just coast for as long as we could, and then do it again for it was probably 4 hours.
That's awesome. Hey, it's like Griffey said. When he had to do the same thing, right, Griffey?
Yeah, with
Colby's
Colby's
truck.
Nice truck.
Yeah. So hey, you just got
What
to make
happened
it
to
sometime.
Colby's truck?
It lost
It
it.
slipped a hose on it that I told freaking Colby that he was gonna lose if he didn't fix it, and I went to go pick up my 7.3 that I'm driving right now, and what a shocker! Midnight, it lost it in Salina grade, and I put as much water in it as I had, which was about a gallon, and hooked it back up. And so I would basically climb the hills, get the truck to about 230 degrees, and then shut it off and let it rest. And usually I could hit the top of the hill and let it coast to the bottom of the hill and then restart.
And so it would run fine after you hit the bottom of the hill? Or did you
Yeah,
have
it'd
to...
be fine.
No.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues.
I guess it was a little bit colder then. No?
Yeah, it was in the 30s that
Oh,
whole
okay.
time.
Cool.
I guess that was supposed to be all dad trips.
It's all good. The one I remember the most, the one that I still hold dear to me, is right after high school. Dad, we were selling all the bottling plants and everything, and I'm trying to remember when I went to New York with Dad.
It wasn't after high school. It was while you were still in high school, because that was my junior year, so it would have been your freshman year. And Lon and I had to stay behind while you and Dad got to deliver the plant.
Yep, that's right. I totally forgot that was then. But yeah, it was. We were coming into New York City and
through the Lincoln Tunnel.
Through the Lincoln Tunnel, and as soon as we enter the Lincoln Tunnel, where there's nowhere to turn off or anything else like that, the excursion dies.
A shocking Edge product failed.
No, it was the crank position sensor. We found out.
Yeah, the Edge.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh. Sounds about right. Edges are terrible.
And I thought it was at the bottom, like at the bottommost point.
No, the very top.
No,
Like close to the bottom.
Yeah, we coasted all
gotcha.
the way to the bottom. And so we had the equipment on the trailer on the back behind us, all tarped off. I mean, so you couldn't see anything. So we're sitting at the bottom of the tunnel, people honking at us, screaming at us, because we're taking up one of the two lanes in the Lincoln Tunnel. And all of a sudden not all of a sudden, I mean, we're sitting there for about 20 minutes and we start realizing there's no more cars at all coming. We're like, what is going on? And then so about a half an hour later, we see this tugboat is what they call it. It's basically a fire truck that has been shortened down to turn around in the Lincoln Tunnel to tow things out. And so they start coming down. We were parked in the right spot. We found out that the camera couldn't see inside the truck, couldn't see any of us. So they thought we were going to blow up the Lincoln Tunnel because they couldn't see anything. They thought we were explosives and
terrorists.
A terrorist going to just blow up the entire Lincoln Tunnel. So we literally shut down the Lincoln Tunnel for 3 hours. At one of the 3 points to get into New York City was shut down because of us. But as soon as these tow truck drivers they see us, and they said, as soon as we saw your dad's cowboy hat, we knew we were good. So it's just funny that they were like they were all calm after they got down to us.
Didn't they send SWAT?
No SWAT. It was literally just that one. It was 2 guys. I'm sure they were all arming up and everything though. But yeah, they were just in that one tow truck, and that was it. And so they towed us out of Lincoln Tunnel, pulled us off to the side. My dad's and King Ugly's like, "What? We got to pay you. I mean, obviously we owe you something." He's like, "No, we're technically a tugboat, and tugboats don't tow cars, so we can't take any of your money." So, Dad, I'm sure Dad gave him a tip. I don't remember exactly what or not. And then I just remember it was so cold, and I had to figure out how to splice those wires together. And luckily I have the long arm span I do, and was able to pinch those wires together just to get us to where we needed to go. But yeah, that was an exciting adventure to shut down one of the 3 main points of New York City. It was great.
I've got another story with that wonderful excursion and Dad.
Hit it.
So Tashi had to go back to Casper's for like a family reunion or Christmas. I think it was Christmas. And right now at this point, the West Coast was getting hit by a blizzard. And Dad's all like, "Oh, this is quite the adventure. This will be awesome. My excursion will get there no problem." So we ended up loading up Casper and Tashi and me and Dad, all hopped in the excursion and drove to Denver. Well, actually drove to Colorado Springs, where Casper's from. And we ended up making it from Vegas to Denver with very little. There wasn't much to talk about. I think I slept most of the time. But
no,
of course,
Baron sleeping?
Never.
In a car?
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Unheard of.
I slept most of the time, but we're going through a blizzard, so we're following snowplows, and then Dad's passing the snowplows because he's like, "Oh, I got 4-wheel drive in 35s. I've got a 6-inch lift. I can go wherever I need to go." But we made it there with no real issue. We then stopped off in Denver at a Safeway, and we went in to go get some food because it was the only place that was open because it was a blizzard, like a legit blizzard, shut down the city. And we ended up shutting the truck off and going and use the restroom and get food and go to come back out, and the truck won't start. Like what we would come to find out is I had climbed underneath, and the starter solenoid had water in it, and it had been freezing outside, and the starter solenoid actually broke off of the starter.
Because
And
it froze.
because it froze.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And so this is a blizzard. All the auto parts stores are closed. Everything's closed. So Dad ends up getting a hold of, it was either Dane or Lonnon. And do either one of you guys remember?
It wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
It was one of you two. Got a hold of one of you two, and one of you got a hold of a Pep Boys in Denver to open the store for 1 hour for us to get the starter. So we ended up having to get a tow truck to come pick us up, but the time period of stopping at Safeway to getting this tow truck was like 4 hours. And so we're all huddled in the excursion, like freezing, and we spent as much time in the Safeway as we could. But then the Safeway was closing, so then we just had to go sit in the excursion. And we ended up, the tow truck driver ended up coming, and it was a big, long roll-off deck. And so they towed us up onto it, brought us to the Pep Boys parking lot, but there wasn't enough space in the tow truck because it was just a like F650 regular
Just a
cab.
two-door.
Yeah, just a two-door. So Tashi and I had to hide in the excursion. We had to sit low because it's illegal to ride on the back of one, and got dropped off at the Pep Boys, and we ended up getting the starter. Ended up being the wrong starter. We had to jerry-rig the old starter with a new solenoid and whatever, and it's like, I'm not going to say it's 6 degrees outside. It's really cold. And I had not really been used to the really cold. I think I was wearing like a hoodie because I had left Vegas.
Sounds about right, Baron.
Probably
That's all you ever wore.
shorts.
And
Yeah,
you were in shorts.
'cause
I
Baron wore
remember
shorts
that, 'cause
everywhere.
That's all he
I
had.
probably was wearing shorts, and it was freezing cold, but Dad couldn't get his hands up there to get the starter in. So I had to get the starter in. So this process took like an hour, and it's not like we have any heat. And eventually we jerry-rigged this starter together. We zip-tied it in place. We got the truck started, and the rest of the time of this trip, we never shut the truck off. So
I don't blame him.
we dropped off Tosh and Casper at Casper's parents' house, and then we stuck around there for half an hour, got some food or hour. We got fuel. Then we took a different way back around. We went through New Mexico. And this is
down through oh gosh, the Telluride and stuff.
yeah, Telluride. We went through not Alamo. We went through what's the
Albuquerque.
city?
Durango?
Albuquerque. No,
you were down to
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque.
We went through Albuquerque, and this is the only time that Dad ever like slept ever, and I drove. And for whatever reason, he was. And everybody will still attest to this. I am a very distracted driver. I'm not a very good driver unless I'm towing something, and I was not towing something at this time.
Is that the word you were gonna go with?
Distracted.
I'm gonna go with Baron's brain rides the passenger seat.
That's why I say distracted. I'm very distracted. So I'm a very distracted driver, but Dad was just totally at ease, like just went to sleep, had no problem. And he'll tell anybody the story that he had no problem with me driving and him sleeping. And so, but he was so exhausted because I think it took us like 14 hours to get to Denver or 15 hours to get to Denver. And then we had this big old starter scenario. So he hadn't slept in like 30 or 36 hours. And so I ended up driving and we made it all the way back. But yeah, that
Sweet.
excursion, I pretty much hated it from that point on, and it just became more and more of a nightmare from that point on. It never ran right. It always was a total piece of drive. Hated that truck.
The best day in all of our the young
That's when it got
bunch
sold.
is when it was sold. Was the best day in all of our lives because that thing, my dad loved it.
Come to
Dad
find out,
loved
it had a freaking chipped cam.
Yeah,
like,
but it still was not great even after that. Like, as funny
No,
as it is,
it was a
Dad
piece of crap.
sold that excursion. We went and picked up, and this can roll into another one if you want. But so he sold it, and that was so let me start with a little bit of backstory. So I have an old Mercedes, and I had just did an engine transplant that went from a 6-cylinder to a 5-cylinder diesel, and Dad sold it in Kingman. So we drove down to Kingman in my Mercedes, and he sold it, and Dad's like, oh, I found this excursion in LA. And so we went back from Kingman and went to LA with Dad to go pick up this red excursion. And his red excursion was far better. Like, it had a lot of mileage, but
The
it
one with
always never an issue.
350,000 miles.
Yes, they got incredible fuel mileage.
They got 27 miles per gallon.
And that wasn't that high. Dad got
22.
22.
22. I
Which
got
is
22
still
with it.
really, really good for a 7.3 excursion.
Yes.
I mean, the entire time I had it, the best I ever got with it was 17, but he must have, I don't know what
You
he
have
did.
a lead foot. Yeah, that's on the
I
road, though.
It
Put it on
also had a
cruise.
different transmission. That was, I don't know what it was, but like that excursion, when I had that first transmission that we got in it, because we bought it with a bad tranny. Dad found some person to rebuild it because we drove it back from LA with a bad tranny, but we got it back.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right, so 2 questions. Number 1, I know that Griff's driven Dad. I've driven Dad, like where Dad's actually slept in the side. But the real question is, how many of you drove Dad with Dad before he was constantly high or on something? Well,
Like drove
I
him
don't-
where he slept?
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, like where he felt comfortable enough to sleep.
I have.
Yeah, well, I know that I have. I did
When
a bunch
I was
of that driving with
15,
Dad.
the first time I did was when I was 15, didn't have my license, had to pull 15,000 pounds of steel back from Salt Lake after he got in that car accident with Uncle Chris.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
It'd have to be on my trip where I flew out to Skyla's place in South Carolina and took that trip down to the Florida Keys and everything with him right after high school. By the way, that was probably one of the best trips with Dad for me, was being able to go down to the Keys. And
I love the Keys.
oh, it was so beautiful. We rented mopeds for a day and just rode around in mopeds all day, and had some of the most expensive, most beautiful yet disgusting sushi I've ever had in the Keys, which is surprising.
Did you
Got
say the
him
most
drunk?
beautiful yet disgusting?
Yes, it was. The presentation on the sushi was phenomenal, but it was not good. Like, it was just not very good, and it was so expensive. I think we walked with just me and Dad. I think it was $300.
Ouch.
Jeez. That's why I don't do anything but all you can eat.
Oh yeah, I know. So yeah, it must have been on the way back when we didn't know that Dad had cancer at that point. But when we got to Kansas City, we were stuck there for almost 3 days, and I just remember being the angsty teenager I was. I hated it. I hated being there. I had to sit in the hotel room because Dad was sick, and now I look back and I'm like, wow, he had cancer at this point, and he couldn't do anything. So I ended up driving most of the way home from Kansas City back to Vegas. So that's the first time I remember doing that.
Okay, so real quick, we're pretty much out of time, but prettiest drive, not including national forests, not including national forests.
Come on. I was going to say Yosemite
I know you were.
or Zion.
That's why I said not including national forests, because like there's drives that even just being on the freeway is gorgeous. For me, it's the 70 from about probably 100 miles past Grand Junction. It's all the way to Denver. Like that.
Is that where you're going through the canyon? Where
Yeah,
you're
and you've got
on top
the
of each other?
hanging freeway, and
Yep.
yeah, it's definitely in my opinion, one of the prettiest drives.
My favorite was when you and I, Lonnon, drove the semi to go pick up Tony, and we drove through Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
That one is another incredible drive. You're absolutely right.
I think you were asleep through
No.
a lot of it.
Not through the pretty parts, but there was quite a bit that I was sleeping. Up that 90 is downright gorgeous. There's no doubt about it.
I remember cresting this mountain, and then you overlook the lake into Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and it's
that I remember as well.
The prettiest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then you ride along the edge of the lake, and it's just, you're in a forest and you're at high altitude, and it is just the prettiest. That was just the prettiest drive.
It is absolutely stunning. All right, so can't do national forests. Dane, do you have one?
Let me think. I've been trying to think of one.
Anybody else?
I've got
It's
mine.
probably
Yeah,
gonna be-
I've got one too.
Okay, then.
I think I've got it. It's got to be, I think, Stanley and Salmon, Idaho, up in there.
Yep.
Kind of up to Camp Bradley. Do you remember that road, Lonnon?
Yep, up through past McCall. Yeah.
No, you didn't go past McCall. You went up through Sun Valley and Haley and kept going north to Stanley and then to Salmon, Idaho.
Oh, right. Yeah, I apologize. Absolutely.
So, yep, up there.
Yep, that is an absolutely pretty drive too. I don't know if the boys have probably never done it.
Nope,
I
I
did.
haven't traveled a whole lot in Idaho.
Yeah, I did. I did it with Hoyt. last year.
You went up to Stanley?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was. It was one of the days I was there, and we were flying back, and he set my date back for like 2 days later than what we were supposed to, and so I was there Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, so you
So-
just drove up through Stanley and up that yeah,
That's cool.
that area is quite beautiful. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
All right, Griffey, what's your favorite road then?
The one up by Fort Bragg, to this day,
Oh my
every
Gosh, it's my
time
favorite road. I forgot
can't
about that
talk
road.
I don't know how to explain it. It is forest on one side, ocean on the other side.
Highway
It is
1.
Highway
the
101.
absolute most pretty drive I have ever been on, and I've been on the road to Lahana with Lonnon, and the road to Lahana is very, very pretty. It does not even compare to 101.
The one
One.
is the
One.
only road I've ever gotten sick on.
Really?
You
don't
guys
know.
are talking about the 101, right? Not the
No,
one.
no, no. The one. So the 101. This is my mission. So the 101 is more central, and then it veers off past Fort Bragg into the one and becomes the one, and then that follows it up all the way to the Oregon and Washington borders.
Oh, I see.
But
I see it.
where
Yeah.
Griff's talking Fort Bragg, that's Highway 1, and there's also the road that leads from the one on the 101 to the one, and I think it's called 20. And that road is also you're in these huge giant redwoods and in the forest the whole time, and in this awesome windy road. I got to drive it every week for 7 months.
So, funny quick story about that. I do remember that because Dad brought us down the one day when we were living in Reno. Do you remember that? And we ended up in San Francisco, and I threw up like in that store.
Yep. And the guy got all PO'd,
Yep.
kicked us out, and Dad was going to spend like $200 on kites.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm not spending any money here.
Yep.
But when I got sick was when Dad took Todd and I to LA after the earthquake in LA.
Yep.
I think it was 93, ninth grade. And I wasn't feeling good that morning. So I don't know if I already wasn't feeling good. But man, I'll tell you, that road did not make it any better.
Yeah. I'll bet. All right. So then that is Baron. If you can't choose that one, since Griffey already chose it, is there another one or no? Oh,
Well,
you said you
mine
had
was
another one.
Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, right. Okay, so I think that's everybody, right?
No.
Okay.
Case?
Case.
Gosh,
Case.
you always forget about
My
me.
bad.
Everyone
That's
hates
just,
me.
it's just because you're the August.
That's it.
Are you 23?
23?
30.
No,
I'll be
because
30 this
everybody
year.
hates
He
you
is
when you're
29.
23.
Haha, that was funny, Lonnon. Totally over everyone's head, but funny. I'm going to be the oddball out here, and I'm going to pick probably one of the ugliest roads. But for me, I don't know why. It is always going to hold a special, because I had to do this at least twice a week when I was working for Sanders. And it's the 95 between Hawthorne and looks like
What?
Fallon. Sorry, between Hawthorne and Fallon.
Oh, yeah.
So Northern Nevada. Yep.
Yep. Right through Walker Lake.
Yep, I know right what you're talking about. Me and Griffey did that a
Beautiful
lot.
area.
Oh, I was one day I was driving back, and it was raining, but not on the 95, but raining out in the desert and through the desert mountains and everything. And I just remember just putting my truck on cruise and just rolling the window down and just watching the rain come down over the mountains. And it literally just struck something. I'm like, man, this is just beautiful. And then coming through Walker Lake all the time, that road that follows Walker Lake all the way around it is always going to be one of my favorite roads.
Yep, I would agree with
Cool.
that. I think the other
It's
one
very,
for me
very pretty, I would say.
would be the 64 coming out of the Grand Canyon to the 89, and then up through
Kingman.
Willow Springs.
No.
Up through Willow Springs, and then the 89A to Jacobs Lake. That one's an incredible
Yes.
drive too. Very pretty.
89A is excellent. I just did that in my Beamer, and that was phenomenal.
I also really the one that goes from Flagstaff to
I was going to say Flagstaff on the freeway. Just
Yeah.
the freeway even going through Flagstaff.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I
So
did
are
that
you
for the
talking
first time.
17 or are you talking 89?
I think it's the 89 if I remember right.
Yeah,
it's the
head
one we
north.
went for the
I was
family.
thinking 17.
Maybe the family reunion, or we went to Jacob Lakes. I don't know why we ended up in Jacob Lakes, but when I was working in Prescott,
Yeah. So yes, that was the 89 you would have came up.
yeah,
Yep.
it was.
That was
Beautiful.
just camping.
That was a road that I still want to take my wife on, and we were going to, and then it didn't happen when we went to go pick up my Flex.
Yeah, the 89A it gets you up through Jacobs Lake, but the 89, 89 is gorgeous. I mean, 89 is even gorgeous just outside of Duck Creek. That whole road up there, that's still a very pretty drive.
I completely agree because like I said, I took that whole loop, took Kanab through Big Water down to Page, and then came back on the 89A, and that was a 7-hour drive, and it was it was beautiful. I mean, if you're within the Cedar City area, I mean, that's something that's a great day trip because you get to see Horseshoe Bend. Big Water is a huge thing. Jacob Lake, obviously stop there during the summertime so you can actually get pie. Right. But yeah, that is an awesome trip.
That's why my truck tires were scrubbed on my work truck is because of taking 14 to 89 every day for like a month.
Yeah.
That was fun.
All right, I think we are out of time. We're well over an hour here. After we edit, obviously, it's going to be shortened a little bit. But anybody else got anything to say, or are we ready to close it out for tonight?
Just keep on trucking, guys. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful places in the United States, and just take the time that we have to use it well.
Case, plug us.
Yeah.
Yep. So, guys, you can reach out to us on Instagram and Facebook. We're at King Ugly Crew, and we need a topic for one of these new things, a topic that none of us know about, so we can just talk about it and get you guys interested in it. You can do that or send us either a message on Facebook or Instagram, or email us at kinguglycrew@gmail.com, and one of us will reach back out to you. We love you guys, and we appreciate you guys listening.
And stay ugly.